In the focus of the program within the process is detailed process of production from the idea to final result under the brand Made in Kazakhstan. The program shows us an amazing world of projects, technologies and industrial developments.
I managed to be on time everywhere. I just get in my car and go. However, had I decided to go by foot, I would have been late for sure. And what would we do without auto transport? Cars have become an irreplaceable part of our lives. Cars, buses, trolleys, taxis, and construction trucks. We've gotten used to this constant movement of wheels. But these rubber covers, they're expendable, and from time to time need to be replaced. However, what do we do with the old ones? You can't just throw them out, just imagine enormous piles of worn-out tires. So what happens to them? Worn-out tires are sent for recycling. What's more, I'll let you in on a little secret. After recycling, they're used in various sectors of the production industry, but all in due time. Hello, you're watching The Process, a program in which we tell you in detail about how it works. Today our cameras are focused on the recycling process of worn-out tires. Recycling of waste has become a key direction in economic policy. A huge amount of produced goods wear out and have to be reused. But throwing out a lot of stuff is not profitable, and what's more, may have negative consequences. For example, burial or burning of car tires has a very bad impact on the environment. But if a smart approach is employed towards reuse, then not only the environment can be preserved, but economic benefits can also be reaped since a secondary industry can be launched. But first things first, the recycling process. This is where the recycling process begins. Worn-out tires are loaded onto a transporter which delivers them to the cutting machine or a pulverizer. It processes about 1 ton of rubber per hour. That's 16 truck tires and even more standard car tires. Tires are delivered to the cutting machine by the transporter. This is where the preliminary cutting takes place. The tires are cut into strips that are 7 to 10 centimeters long. The next stage is a sieve, with the use of which pieces are filtered by size. If after the preliminary cutting stage the pieces are still too big, they are returned to the beginning of the cycle and are once again delivered to the cutting machine. The cutting up of the tires is done until all the tire pieces reach the necessary size for the further processing stages. Tire fragments of the right size fall into the holes in the sieve and are transported for further pulverization. They're cut into the pieces of approximately 2 centimeters in size. But the tires also have metal parts, bead rings, and a steel cord. During the cutting up process, it is important to separate them from the rubber mass. In order to do this, a separator is installed inside the granulator, which separates the small parts. Afterwards, this magnet attracts large metal wire fragments and tosses them off into a separate container. Once the rubber pieces are free of metal particles, they are delivered to the knife grinder. This is the final stage of shredding. Here the knives turn the rubber pieces into small particles of 3 to 6 millimeters in size. An exhaust vent is turned on during all the stages of the shredding process, as well as during the subsequent transfer stages. The vent aids in the separation of textile fibers, which can impede the recycling process from the rubber mass. It also helps to keep a clean environment in the plant, as together with textile fibers it removes dust. The shredding process of worn-out tires is almost complete. Rubber pieces which have passed through this sieve have the right size for the final product. That is why they are poured into bags through a pipe. But this is not all. Ahead is the stage of transforming this mass of rubber pieces into an active rubber powder. production of active rubber powder involves further shredding of the crumb rubber to about 0.8 to 0.6 millimeters. This stage takes place without additional active substances and without heating up. The shredded crumb rubber falls to the centrifugal sieve where, with the use of mechanical shift technology, it is turned into rubber powder. Active rubber powder, unlike crumb rubber, has a developed surface. If the pieces of rubber after the knife grinder have flat surfaces, the particles of the active powder look like popcorn. Their sides are round and due to this have a greater area of impact. Also, the powder, unlike tire rubber, can engage in chemical reactions. And this is the first and foremost condition for secondary production. This is the ready active rubber powder. It's precisely what is needed for secondary production. For example, in order to make drip tubes for irrigation. Well, hello Second Life. Raw materials for drip tubes, the active rubber powder, and a binding element, polyethylene, are delivered to the mixing machine. There the components are proportioned in terms of mass and are moved to the extruder, an apparatus for the production of drip tubes. The mixture is gradually delivered to the screws of the cylinder, which turns inside the extruder. There the powder undergoes additional mixing, is heated up, and contracts under pressure. The screws push the fluid mixture into the casing head, where the tube shape is formed. After coming out of the extruder, the tube is put into a water tub where it cools off. Once it is cooled and dried off, the tube is moved along a conveyor belt to a machine which measures off the necessary size and cuts it. Now all that is left is to pack it up. Here they are, the ready drip tubes for irrigation. They were made out of crumb rubber or old car tires. It seemed that their years of service were up. But no, thanks to these tubes, new plants and trees will grow. What's more, the tubes made out of active rubber powder differ from regular hoses in terms of cost efficiency. These tubes have a porous structure, drops of water leak through the pores and evenly irrigate the soil. The roots of the plants absorb all the moisture supplied by the drip tubes, without leaving any excess water. Thus, irrigation is uniform and cost efficient. The system of subsoil irrigation is used in city parks and squares, and thanks to this, flower beds and lawns are well maintained all throughout the blooming season. Aside from watering of plants, active rubber powder is used in the production of rubber goods, amortizing surfaces, sports playing fields, and is even added to bitumen for road construction. Thanks to this, asphalt on the roads can withstand extreme temperature changes and becomes more supple and damp-proof. Crumb rubber and rubber powder obtained from the recycling of old tires have found many means of application. In the production of tubes for irrigation systems, asphalt, even on this playground. The surface under my feet is springy due to the presence of crumb rubber. It ensures safety on the playground. If a child falls, the impact will be softened by the surface. And jumping on it is much more fun. You were watching The Process, a program in which we tell you in detail about how it works and thereby changes our perspective on things that surround us in our daily lives. My name is Nazar Muhammadjan. Until next time.